Okay, the Transfiguration. A big deal, obviously. I need to apologize to some of you, actually at this Mass, probably most of you. When I hear this reading, a lot of the time, I think of Star Wars. Specifically, that part in Empire Strikes Back when Yoda is training Luke in the ways of the Force. So, if you have never seen Star Wars and do not care about Star Wars at all, hang on. I will circle back to the gospel, I promise. But for those of you that would like a little bit of a recap for that part of the story, here goes. Now, at this point, Luke is in this secluded place with Yoda, and his ship is half sunk in a nearby swamp. And Yoda is not training Luke to be a fighter. All right, the fighting parts about being a Jedi really do seem to be the least important thing Yoda has to offer him. And I'm telling you, the greatest quotes from the entire series is from this part of this movie. The Force is my ally, and a powerful ally it is. By the way, I can't do the Yoda voice, and I'm not even going to try. Don't judge me. And the other quote that I can't help but share this time is, "Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter." Just like Jesus at the Transfiguration, Yoda is teaching his disciple that everyone, not just him, everyone's true reality is so much more than meets the eye. And Luke kind of gets it, but not really. He's getting there, but he has a ways to go. A little bit later, his ship sinks completely into the swamp, and Yoda says, "We'll never get it out now, it's too big." Yoda says, "Lift it up with the Force." He tries, he can't, it's too big. And then Yoda lifts up his hands, raises the X-Wing out of the swamp without breaking a sweat. And Luke, still panting from exertion, says, "I don't believe it." And Yoda says, "And that's why you fail." I want you to consider that lesson, if you will. So Yoda's saying that we are luminous beings. We are positively glowing with divine greatness. Everyone has it, no matter what, but it takes faith to bring it out. All right? That's where the personal effort comes in. You have to believe that the Force is something beyond the physical. And I love that. I don't care that we're talking about fiction. I don't care if it's only a movie. That is a beautiful thing to hear. And it's part of the reason those movies have survived and stood the test of time. Now, going back to the Bible, episode 5, the Roman Empire Strikes Back. I'm expecting people at 10 o'clock to outright boo me on that one. But we still have a teacher. And he's not some kind of weird space leprechaun. He's a Jewish carpenter now. But he's just as easy to underestimate. And likewise, he has a transfiguration where he is telling all of us, even us today, that we are luminous beings. We have an interior glory that is entirely from God. And if you saw it with your own eyes, you'd think you'd gone blind. Okay? That's how bright our glory is, because it's nothing less than the glory of God. But just like Star Wars, that glory will remain dormant and inert without faith. Interior conviction, tempered by wisdom, is the key to bringing that glory out for all to see. Now, in the Bible, there are basically two people that are a lot like Luke Skywalker. People with some faith, but with a ways to go. And I'm talking about Peter and Judas. Both of these guys are really trying to learn the ways of Jesus Christ. Peter, for his part, he has enough faith to walk on water, but not enough faith to keep it going for more than a minute. Luke can move rocks with his mind, but he can't lift his ship out of the swamp. It's the same problem in principle. Like Luke, Peter has a little bit of trouble letting go of the physical. Remember the Garden of Gethsemane? Some people come to arrest Jesus, and Peter, in his zeal to protect Jesus, whips out a sword and lops off a guy's ear. And Jesus says, "Those who live by the sword die by the sword." Okay, that's Jesus' polite way of saying, Peter, we need to be beyond that sort of thing. We are luminous beings, all of us, but it takes faith to bring it out. And we need to let go of our swords, and we need to let go of our doubts. Because both of those things belong to the physical world, and we don't need them. In fact, they'll enslave us if we let them. Eventually, Peter learns that lesson. Eventually. Judas does not. And Judas really believed in Jesus. If you had the chance to ask him to his face, he would truthfully say, I believed in Jesus more than any other disciple. I was Jesus' number one fan. But Judas was completely and absolutely convinced that Jesus was to be the Messiah in a militaristic, political, or social way. He was fully convinced that Jesus was going to be the one to shake off the shackles of the Roman Empire for all the world to see. And he just couldn't get it in his head that the true glory of Jesus was beyond all that business. And Judas pays dearly for that in the end. So, I don't hate Judas. I pity him because he got enslaved by things that always seem to matter but never really do. And I can only imagine how the gospel story would have ended had Judas seen the transfiguration with his own two eyes. All of us here today are at least a little bit like Peter and Judas. Everybody here has some faith, some belief. But everyone here also has limits to that very same faith. Every single one of you takes some, you depend somehow on a physical reassurance. And that's okay. That's just you and me and everybody else in the world. But we have an interior glory that Jesus revealed on that mountaintop, and every day of our lives is another chance to bring that glory out a little bit more. So believe. Believe that the Holy Spirit is your ally, and it is a powerful ally indeed.